"Don't stop," the stranger whispered. "If you stop, they'll find me." 6 hours later, 400 vampires would be kneeling outside Emily Carter's apartment, and the pale man sleeping on her second-hand couch would be revealed as their king. But at 1:17 in the morning, Emily knew none of that. She knew only 3 things. Her shift at Miller's Gas and Market had lasted 11 hours. Her checking account held $27. And the rain hitting the windshield of her 2008 Honda sounded like the sky was trying to break through the glass. Emily leaned closer to the steering wheel, squinting through the darkness. The highway outside Blackwood, Pennsylvania, was nearly empty, a narrow ribbon of wet asphalt surrounded by miles of pine forest. She should have taken the interstate. She should have ignored the extra 12 miles of gas it would cost. She should have done a lot of things differently. Then her headlights caught something black beside the road. Emily hit the brakes. The Honda slid several feet before stopping. Her heart slammed once. Twice. She stared into the rearview mirror. Nothing. Just rain. Keep driving, she told herself. Call the police when you get home. Her hand tightened around the wheel. Then lightning flashed, turning the forest white for half a second. A man was lying beside the road. "Oh, come on," Emily breathed. She grabbed her phone, pulled her thin jacket over her uniform, and stepped into the storm. Cold rain soaked her hair within seconds. "Sir?" No answer. She moved closer. The stranger wore a long black coat that looked far too expensive for someone abandoned on a country highway. Dark hair clung to his forehead. His face was sharp, almost unnaturally perfect, but his skin was the first thing Emily noticed. White. Not sickly. Not gray. Pale like winter moonlight. "Sir, can you hear me?" She crouched beside him and pressed 2 fingers to his wrist. Nothing. Emily froze. She tried again. Still nothing. No. No, no. She reached for her phone, but a hand suddenly closed around her wrist. Emily gasped. The stranger's eyes opened. Silver. Cold. Ancient. For one impossible second, neither of them moved. "Don't," he said. His voice was barely more than breath. "Don't call anyone." Emily stared at him. "You don't have a pulse." Something almost like amusement crossed his pale face. "That is not my greatest problem tonight." A sound drifted through the rain. Engines. More than one. Emily looked toward the highway. 3 sets of headlights appeared between the trees, moving fast. The stranger's expression changed. Fear did not belong on a face like his. Yet Emily saw it. "Leave me," he whispered. "Now." She looked at the approaching lights. Then at the man beside her. Emily Carter had $27, an overdue electric bill, and absolutely no reason to risk anything for a stranger. But her mother had once told her that kindness only mattered when walking away was easier. Emily slipped his arm over her shoulder. "Yeah," she muttered, struggling to lift him. "Sorry. I'm terrible at following good advice." The stranger stared at her. Emily dragged him toward her old Honda as the headlights grew brighter behind them. She didn't know his name. She didn't know what he was. And she had no idea that somewhere beneath his black coat rested the ancient seal of the vampire crown. She only knew someone was coming for him. So Emily Carter opened her car door and made the choice that would change the world of the living and the dead forever. The passenger door barely closed before Emily threw the Honda into drive. The tires rolled across the wet shoulder, and the old car shuddered as she pushed it past 50 miles per hour. In the mirror, 3 pairs of headlights reached the place where the stranger had been lying. Then they stopped. Emily swallowed. "Please tell me those are your concerned coworkers." The pale man sat slumped against the passenger seat, his black coat dripping onto the worn fabric. His silver eyes remained closed. Drive faster. That is not an answer. It is the only one you need. Emily glanced at him. You were unconscious beside a highway without a heartbeat. I think I have earned at least one answer. His eyes opened. For a second, the dashboard lights caught something strange inside them, a faint silver glow that vanished when he blinked. You should have left me. Emily looked back at the road. You already said that. You do not understand. Correct. That is why people usually explain things. The stranger studied her as if conversation itself had become unfamiliar. Behind them, headlights appeared again. Closer. Emily's stomach tightened. They are following us. Yes. Who are they? Silence. Are you a criminal? No. Government? No. Rich? His gaze moved around the cracked dashboard and faded seats. Would that change your decision? Honestly, it might improve my mood. A quiet sound escaped him. Emily almost looked over. Had he laughed? No. A man who looked carved from frozen marble probably did not laugh. Turn left, he said. There is no road. There is. Emily slowed just enough to see a narrow opening between the trees. That is a dirt trail. Turn. The headlights behind them grew brighter. Emily turned. Branches scraped the Honda as the car bounced onto the hidden path. If my suspension survives this, I am sending you the repair bill. Agreed. You do not even know my name. Emily Carter. Her hands tightened on the wheel. I never told you that. The stranger looked at the plastic badge still pinned to her gas station uniform. Emily C. She exhaled. Right. Long night. Your kindness makes you careless. The words were cold, but his voice had weakened. Emily noticed his hand gripping the door. His pale fingers trembled. And whatever is wrong with you is getting worse. Keep driving. You need a hospital. No hospitals. Then tell me what you need. His eyes closed again. Time. The Honda hit a deep rut. Emily cursed under her breath and fought the wheel. When she looked at him again, his face had become even paler. Impossible, she thought. Then she noticed the silence. No breathing. No rise of his chest. Nothing. Hey. No response. Mr. Mysterious, this is not funny. She reached across and touched his shoulder. Cold. Emily pulled the car beneath an abandoned service overpass and stopped. Rain hammered the concrete above them. She turned toward him. Wake up. Nothing. Her pulse raced. She pressed her fingers to his wrist again, knowing what she would find. No heartbeat. Yet beneath his skin, something moved. A faint vibration. Like distant thunder trapped inside bone. The stranger's eyes opened suddenly. Do not touch me. Emily jerked back. Then stop looking dead. His silver gaze fixed on her. I am not dead. Great. That clears up absolutely nothing. He tried to sit upright and failed. Emily caught his arm before he fell against the dashboard. The sleeve of his coat shifted. For one brief second, she saw a dark symbol on his wrist. A crown surrounded by thin twisting lines. The mark pulsed once with dim crimson light. Emily stopped breathing. He covered it immediately. What was that? Nothing. Nothing does not glow. Engines echoed somewhere beyond the trees. The stranger turned toward the sound. His expression hardened. They found the trail. Emily looked at the rain, the darkness, and the man who should not have been alive. Where can I take you? He hesitated. Somewhere no one would think to look. Emily stared at him for 2 seconds. Then she started the car. My apartment. For the first time, genuine surprise entered his ancient silver eyes. You would bring me into your home? Emily shifted into drive. Do not make me regret it. He watched her as the Honda disappeared deeper into the storm. Emily Carter, he whispered, as though committing the name to memory. She did not hear him. And she did not see the ancient mark beneath his sleeve glow brighter. Emily lived on the third floor of a tired brick apartment building where the hallway lights worked only when they felt generous. By the time she parked behind the building, the rain had softened, but the stranger beside her looked worse. His silver eyes were closed. His face was almost colorless. We are here, Emily said. No response. She sighed. Of course. The mysterious rich man becomes unconscious exactly when stairs are involved. His eyes opened. I can walk. He opened the door, stood, and immediately caught the roof of the Honda to steady himself. Emily raised an eyebrow. Very convincing. I have survived wars. Congratulations. Tonight you are losing to a parking lot. She slipped beneath his arm before he could argue. He went rigid. Emily felt it immediately, the strange tension in him, as if being helped was more threatening than the people searching the forest. Relax, she whispered. I am not kidnapping you. You could not. That sounded rude. It was an observation. They reached the back entrance just as headlights swept across the far end of the street. Emily froze. A black vehicle turned slowly around the corner. The stranger lifted his head. Every trace of weakness vanished from his expression. Inside. You can barely stand. Emily. It was the first time he had spoken her name directly. Quiet. Absolute. She opened the door. They moved into the stairwell seconds before the black vehicle rolled past. Emily held her breath. The stranger did not. That thought returned. No heartbeat. No breathing. Cold skin. She looked at him. He was listening to something beyond the walls. 3 men, he said. How could you possibly know that? Their footsteps. Emily stared toward the street. From inside the building? His silver eyes met hers. You ask too many questions. You give too few answers. A shadow crossed the glass door. Emily reacted before she could think. She grabbed the stranger's hand and pulled him up the stairs. 2nd floor. 3rd floor. Her lungs burned. His footsteps made almost no sound. At apartment 3C, Emily fumbled with her keys. Come on. Come on. The key turned. She pulled him inside and closed the door. Her apartment was small. 1 bedroom. 1 couch. A kitchen barely large enough for 2 people. The stranger stood in the middle of it, silent. His gaze moved over the second-hand furniture, the unpaid electric bill on the counter, and the grocery list held to the refrigerator by a faded magnet. Milk. Bread. Coffee. Maybe eggs. The word maybe had been underlined twice. What? Emily asked. Nothing. You are judging my apartment. I am not. Your face is very judgmental. This is simply my face. Emily almost smiled. Then someone knocked downstairs. 3 slow knocks. The stranger turned toward the door. They are here. Emily's stomach tightened. Stay quiet. Emily, listen to me. If they enter this apartment, you must step away from me. Why? Because they will assume you matter. I do not. His gaze settled on her with unsettling intensity. You brought a stranger into your home. You lied for him. You risked being followed. He paused. To them, that is enough. Another knock echoed below. Then footsteps entered the stairwell. Emily looked around desperately. Her bedroom had one window and no fire escape. The bathroom was too small. The closet was ridiculous. She pointed at the couch. Lie down. He stared at her. What? You look half dead. Use it. I do not understand. Pretend you are asleep. Why? Emily grabbed an old gray blanket and threw it over him. Because nobody searching for some terrifying criminal mastermind is going to expect him to be taking a nap under a $10 blanket. The stranger looked down at the faded fabric. This plan is absurd. Do you have a better one? Footsteps reached the third floor. He said nothing. Exactly. Emily turned off the lamp and sat beside the couch as the footsteps stopped outside apartment 3C. Silence. Then a man's voice came through the door. Ma'am, we need to ask you a question. Emily's heart pounded. The pale stranger opened his silver eyes. She placed one finger against her lips. For 600 years, kings had bowed to his commands. Armies had waited for his permission to move. But in Emily Carter's tiny apartment, the ancient vampire king remained perfectly still because one human girl had quietly told him to keep silent. Emily stared at the door. The man outside knocked again. 3 measured taps. Ma'am, open the door, please. The stranger beneath her gray blanket did not move, but his silver eyes remained fixed on Emily. She could almost feel his warning. Step away. Protect yourself. Emily ignored it. She stood, smoothed her damp gas station uniform, and opened the door 3 inches with the security chain still locked. A tall man in a dark coat waited in the hallway. 2 others stood near the stairs. All 3 were pale. Not as pale as the stranger on her couch, but pale enough to make Emily notice. Sorry, she said. It is almost 2 in the morning. The tall man's smile was polite. Too polite. We are looking for someone. Then I recommend looking during normal business hours. His smile disappeared. A man. Black coat. Dark hair. Very pale. Emily forced herself not to glance behind her. That describes half the people working night shift in Pennsylvania during winter. It is September. Then they are probably tired. Silence. The man's eyes moved past Emily into the apartment. May we come inside? No. This is important. So is my security deposit. Behind her, the stranger remained perfectly still. Emily could hear her own pulse. Fast. Loud. Surely everyone could hear it. The man leaned slightly closer. Have you seen him? Emily looked directly into his eyes. No. One word. One lie. The hallway seemed to grow colder. The man studied her face for several seconds. Then his gaze shifted toward the couch. Emily's heart stopped. The gray blanket covered most of the stranger, but one black shoe remained visible near the armrest. The man noticed. You live alone? That is a very inappropriate question. Answer it. Emily's fear changed. Not gone. Sharper. Hotter. You knocked on my door in the middle of the night. You refused to identify yourself. Now you are asking if I live alone. She reached for her phone. I think the police would enjoy this conversation. The man's expression hardened. Then one of the others spoke from the stairwell. We should go. The tall man hesitated. Emily did not move. Finally, he stepped back. If you see the man we described, do not approach him. Good night. Emily closed the door and locked it. She waited. Footsteps descended the stairs. A minute passed. Then 2. The black vehicle outside finally drove away. Emily released a breath and leaned against the door. That, she whispered, was officially the worst decision I have made this week. The blanket moved. The stranger sat up slowly. His silver eyes studied her. You lied. I noticed. To them. Also noticed. You do not know me. Emily walked toward the kitchen. You keep mentioning that. I could be dangerous. She opened a cabinet and found an old first aid kit. Are you? He said nothing. Emily looked over her shoulder. That silence was not comforting. She returned to the couch and set the kit on the coffee table. Take off your coat. His eyebrows lifted. So I can see what is wrong with you, Emily added quickly. Do not make that strange. I said nothing. Your face did. He removed the heavy black coat. Beneath it, his dark shirt was torn near the side, revealing a faint network of black lines beneath his unnaturally pale skin. Emily's humor vanished. What is that? Poison. Then you need a doctor. Human medicine cannot help me. There is that word again. His gaze sharpened. What word? Human. Emily sat beside him. You say it like you are not one. Silence filled the apartment. Rain tapped softly against the window. Emily reached for a clean cloth. Whatever. Mysterious secrets later. She opened a small bottle of antiseptic. The cap was stuck. Of course. She twisted harder. The plastic edge caught the skin of her palm. Emily winced. A thin red line appeared across her hand. The stranger froze. Completely. His silver eyes dropped to her palm. Emily. His voice changed. Lower. Urgent. Step away from me. She looked at him. Why? The black lines beneath his skin began to glow. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then every bulb in the apartment went dark. Emily stopped breathing. In the darkness, two crimson eyes opened. Run, he whispered. But Emily did not move. A single drop from her palm had already fallen onto his hand, and beneath their skin, two ancient marks awakened at the exact same time. For 3 seconds, the apartment forgot how to exist. No lights. No rain. No sound except Emily's heartbeat. Then the mark in her palm burned with pale gold light. She stared at it. Thin lines curved beneath her skin, forming a symbol she had never seen. Across from her, the stranger gripped the couch. Crimson light moved through the dark lines beneath his pale skin. What did you do? Emily whispered. His red eyes lifted to hers. I did nothing. That is becoming your favorite answer. A lamp exploded back to life. Then another. The refrigerator hummed. The clock above the kitchen restarted at 2:07 in the morning. The stranger looked down at his hand. The black lines were disappearing. Not fading. Retreating. Emily watched them vanish beneath his sleeve until his skin was clear again. The poison, he said. His voice was barely audible. What about it? He stood. Emily immediately stepped back. An hour earlier, he could barely cross a parking lot. Now he stood perfectly straight. Tall. Still. Powerful in a way that made her tiny apartment feel smaller. His face remained unnaturally white, but the weakness was gone. It is silent, he said. Emily stared. Poison is usually silent. His crimson eyes narrowed. You do not understand. You have made absolutely certain of that. He moved toward her. One step. Emily raised the antiseptic bottle. I do not know what this would do to you, but I am willing to find out. He stopped. For the first time, something warm touched his expression. Almost amusement. You are threatening me with drugstore antiseptic. It was $8. His gaze dropped to her glowing palm. The amusement vanished. Show me your hand. No. Emily. Still no. Please. That word changed everything. She slowly lowered the bottle. You know how to say please. Incredible. Emily extended her hand. He did not touch her. He only stared at the mark. His face became still. Too still. Impossible. Emily pulled her hand back. You said that earlier. Because this should not exist. That is very comforting. He turned toward the window. Dawn was still hours away, but the rain had stopped. The city beyond the glass seemed quiet. What is your name? Emily asked. He remained silent. You know mine. A long pause. Lucian. Lucian what? Blackwood. Emily blinked. Blackwood. The town. Blackwood County. Blackwood Foundation. Blackwood Tower in Philadelphia. She had seen the name on hospitals, universities, and buildings older than the state itself. That Blackwood? Lucian turned. His eyes were silver again. Yes. Emily sat down slowly. You are rich. That is your conclusion? I am processing one disaster at a time. A sound interrupted them. Not engines. Not footsteps. A low vibration against the windows. Emily frowned and walked toward the blinds. Lucian moved faster. Do not open that. Too late. Emily pulled the blind aside. Her breath stopped. The street below was no longer empty. Men and women in black coats stood along both sidewalks. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. They filled the parking lot, the street, even the entrance to the alley. Every face was turned toward Emily's third-floor window. Lucian. He closed his eyes. How many people do you know? They are not people. Emily slowly looked at him. Outside, one figure stepped forward. A tall man with silver hair raised his face toward the window. Then he lowered himself to one knee. The others followed. One after another. Silent. Perfect. 400 figures kneeling in the wet street before sunrise. Emily backed away from the window. Who are you? Lucian said nothing. A knock came at the apartment door. Once. Emily looked at Lucian. He gave a slight nod. She opened it. A broad-shouldered man in a dark coat stood in the hallway. His eyes were gray, his face pale. He bowed deeply. Miss Carter. Emily gripped the door. How do you know my name? The man lifted his gaze. My name is Marcus Reed. I serve the crown. Emily glanced at Lucian. Marcus stepped aside, lowered his head, and spoke with quiet reverence. You saved the King of Night. Emily turned slowly. Lucian Blackwood stood in her tiny living room, the ancient mark beneath his wrist glowing through his skin. And now, Marcus continued, every vampire alive knows your name. Emily looked from Marcus to the silent crowd below, then back to Lucian. Vampire. The word felt ridiculous in her mouth. Lucian's expression did not change. Yes. Emily waited for someone to laugh. Nobody did. Marcus remained beside the door with his head lowered. Outside, 400 impossible strangers stayed on their knees. Emily pressed both hands against her face. I worked 11 hours. I had 3 cups of gas station coffee. Maybe I am hallucinating. You are not, Lucian said. That is disappointing. Marcus glanced toward the stairwell. My king, we cannot remain here. The council has already summoned the houses. Lucian's eyes hardened. How? Marcus looked at Emily's palm. The golden mark had dimmed, but it remained visible. The covenant was felt across every bloodline. Lucian went completely still. Do not call it that. My king. Do not. Emily lowered her hands. I would personally love it if somebody called it something and then explained it. Marcus opened his mouth. Lucian spoke first. We leave. No. Both men looked at Emily. She pointed toward the window. There are hundreds of vampires outside my apartment. Apparently you are their king. My hand is glowing. You were poisoned. 3 creepy men followed us through the woods. I am not getting into another car until someone tells me what is happening. Lucian studied her. Then he looked at Marcus. 5 minutes. Marcus bowed and stepped into the hallway. Lucian walked to the kitchen window. Morning gray touched the horizon. 3 nights ago, someone entered Blackwood Castle. Emily folded her arms. I thought kings had security. We do. Not good security, apparently. Lucian ignored that. They placed an ancient compound in my private chambers. It was designed for my kind. Slow. Invisible. By the time I understood what had happened, it had already bound itself to my blood. Emily glanced at the place where the dark lines had vanished. And my blood stopped it. No. Lucian turned toward her. Your blood broke a seal inside me. Emily's stomach tightened. What seal? One placed 300 years ago. Silence. The refrigerator clicked off. 300 years, Emily repeated. Lucian nodded. How old are you? 612. Emily stared at him. You look 30. I am aware. That is deeply unfair. Again, the faintest hint of amusement touched his face, but it disappeared quickly. The poison was bait, Emily. Bait for what? Lucian looked at her glowing palm. For you. The room suddenly felt colder. That makes no sense. Nobody knows me. I did not know you. Exactly. But someone knew you existed. Emily shook her head. I sell coffee and lottery tickets. I am behind on my electric bill. Last month, my greatest enemy was a washing machine that ate $14. Lucian stepped closer, but this time he stopped several feet away. For centuries ago, there was a human bloodline capable of awakening ancient vampire bonds. Kings feared them. Councils hunted their records. Eventually, the bloodline disappeared. Emily looked at her hand. You think I am related to them? I think someone poisoned me because they knew the only way to reveal you was to place me close to death. The truth settled slowly. Heavy. Terrible. You were never the target, Emily whispered. Lucian's silver eyes held hers. No. A sharp knock came from the hallway. Marcus entered without waiting. His calm expression was gone. My king, we have a problem. Speak. The council has identified Miss Carter. Emily's heartbeat jumped. Marcus looked directly at her. Lady Seraphine has invoked the ancient claim. Lucian's eyes flashed crimson. She would not dare. She already has. Marcus lowered his voice. Every vampire house has been ordered to Blackwood Castle before sunrise. Emily looked toward the window. The first pale edge of dawn was appearing above the buildings. Why? Marcus hesitated. Lucian answered. Because they do not believe you are a person anymore. Emily met his gaze. What do they think I am? Lucian's voice became cold enough to silence the room. A weapon. Blackwood Castle stood 30 miles beyond the city, hidden behind pine-covered hills and iron gates Emily was certain had not appeared on any map she had ever seen. She sat in the back of a black sedan beside Lucian while Marcus drove through the final gate. No one spoke. Emily watched stone towers rise through the morning fog. This is your house, she finally asked. Yes. You could sell one tower and solve my electric bill problem forever. Lucian turned his pale face toward her. You are facing an ancient vampire council, and you are thinking about your electric bill. It is due Friday. The corner of Marcus's mouth moved in the mirror. Lucian noticed. Do not encourage her. The sedan stopped beneath a massive stone archway. Emily stepped out and immediately wished she had stayed inside. Hundreds of figures waited along the castle steps. Beautiful. Pale. Silent. Their eyes followed her. Emily looked down at her faded gas station uniform and wet sneakers. I am underdressed. Stay beside me, Lucian said. That sounded less like fashion advice. It was. They entered the castle. The great hall stretched farther than Emily's entire apartment building. Dark pillars rose toward a vaulted ceiling. At the far end stood a black throne. Around it, dozens of vampires waited in a wide circle. A silver-haired man stepped forward. Lucian Blackwood. Lucian stopped. Lord Cassian Vane. Cassian's eyes moved to Emily. So this is the human. Her name is Emily Carter. Her name is irrelevant. The air changed. Emily felt Lucian become still beside her. Say that again, he said softly. Cassian paused. Lady Seraphine appeared near the throne, dressed in dark blue, her porcelain face calm. We are not here to insult your guest, Lucian. We are here because the law is clear. The law was written before your house existed. And yet you are bound by it. Seraphine raised an ancient book. When a human awakens the Crimson Covenant, the crown must surrender that human to the council for examination. Emily blinked. Examination sounds unpleasant. Emily, Marcus warned quietly. Seraphine looked at her. You should understand the danger you represent. I did not ask to represent anything. Power rarely asks permission. Cassian opened the book. 400 years ago, humans carrying your blood awakened bonds that divided vampire houses. Kingdoms nearly collapsed. The law was created to prevent that from happening again. Emily looked at Lucian. Is that true? His silence answered. Her chest tightened. You knew. I suspected. And you brought me here. To protect you. Cassian laughed quietly. Protection? You brought the spark into a room filled with dry wood. Voices rose around the hall. One house wanted Emily confined. Another demanded custody. A third insisted her bloodline be studied. They spoke about her as if she were not standing 10 feet away. Weapon. Risk. Asset. Claim. Emily listened until something inside her became very calm. Enough. No one heard. She stepped forward. I said enough. The room fell silent. Emily's hands trembled, but she kept them at her sides. Yesterday, I sold a truck driver 2 coffees and helped an elderly woman find her credit card. Then I found a stranger beside a highway. Her eyes moved across the court. I did not save him because he was a king. I did not know he was a vampire. I helped because he needed help. Seraphine's expression remained cold. Kindness does not erase consequences. Maybe not. Emily lifted her marked palm. But if my existence puts people in danger, then tell me what you need me to do. Lucian turned sharply. Emily. She looked at him. If leaving prevents a war, I will leave. Cassian closed the ancient book. Leaving is not sufficient. The hall became silent again. The covenant ends only when the awakened bloodline ends. Emily understood. Her face lost color. Lucian stepped between her and the council. His crimson eyes ignited. No. Seraphine tilted her head. You know the law. I wrote half the laws you quote to me. Then choose, my king. Lucian looked at Emily. The exhausted human girl in a faded uniform. The stranger who had lied for him. Hidden him. Saved him without knowing his name. 600 years of duty stood behind him. One human stood before him. Lucian turned toward his throne. My choice is made. Cashin's expression tightened. The crown or the girl? Lucian's voice crossed the hall like winter thunder. I will not surrender, Emily Carter. Seraphine smiled. It was small. Almost invisible. And Emily suddenly realized something terrible. The vampire woman did not look surprised. She looked satisfied. Lucian saw Seraphine's smile. It lasted less than a second, but 600 years had taught him to notice the smallest victories of his enemies. Marcus, he said. One word. Marcus moved closer to Emily. Seraphine lowered the ancient book. Is something wrong, my king? Lucian's crimson eyes fixed on her. You wanted me to choose. The council required an answer. No. Lucian stepped away from Emily. You required an answer. Seraphine's smile vanished. A low vibration passed through the great hall. Emily looked toward the stone floor. The golden mark in her palm suddenly burned. Lucian. He turned. Too late. The ancient symbols carved around the throne flashed crimson. Lucian froze. His hand closed against his chest. Marcus rushed forward. My king. Stay back. The command came out strained. Emily watched black lines appear beneath Lucian's pale skin. The same poison. No. Not the same. These lines moved faster. Up his hands. Along his neck. His crimson eyes brightened until the entire court stepped away. Cashin stared at Seraphine. What have you done? Seraphine remained calm. I finished what the crown was too weak to finish. Lucian dropped to one knee. The stone beneath him trembled. Emily moved forward. Marcus caught her arm. Do not. Let me go. You do not understand what is happening. Then explain quickly. Marcus looked at Lucian. The seal you broke was containing centuries of royal power. Someone has activated what remained. Emily turned toward Seraphine. The poison. Seraphine smiled again. Very good, human. Lucian lifted his head. His face was whiter than marble. His eyes no longer looked like eyes. They were crimson light. The vampires nearest him retreated. Cashin shouted for everyone to leave the hall. Panic spread through the court. Emily did not move. Emily. Lucian's voice sounded distant. Run. The same word. The highway. The rain. The dying stranger beside the road. Emily remembered his cold hand around her wrist. Run. She had ignored him then. She ignored him now. Marcus tightened his grip. Miss Carter, please. Emily pulled free. He told me to run the first time too. She stepped toward Lucian. 10 feet. The air felt heavy. 8 feet. Her golden mark grew brighter. 6 feet. Lucian looked at her. Stop. Emily kept walking. You are really bad at asking for help. Emily. You are 612 years old. You own a castle. 400 vampires kneel when you wake up. She stopped 3 feet away. And somehow, you still think you have to face everything alone. Lucian's hands trembled. I cannot control this. Then let me help. I could frighten you. Emily swallowed. Her heart was racing. You already frighten me. Something changed in his expression. Pain. Not physical pain. Something older. Then why are you still here? Emily looked at the ancient king kneeling before her. Not the crown. Not the legend. The man who had nearly disappeared alone beside a highway because he believed leaving him was safer for everyone else. She stepped closer. Because you needed help. Emily placed her marked palm against the center of his chest. Golden light spread beneath her fingers. The hall went silent. Lucian's eyes widened. Emily felt something vast behind his stillness. Centuries of memory. Empty halls. Endless winters. A throne surrounded by people who feared him but never truly knew him. You told me to run, Emily whispered. I did not. The black lines stopped. I am not starting now. Lucian stared at her. Then, slowly, the crimson light in his eyes faded. Red became silver. The trembling stone became still. His hand rose and gently covered Emily's hand against his chest. For the first time since she had found him, Emily felt it. One heartbeat. Deep. Impossible. Then another. The entire vampire court heard it. Marcus lowered his head. Cassian stared in disbelief. Seraphine stepped backward. No, she whispered. Lucian stood. Calm returned to his face, but it was no longer cold. He looked at Emily once before turning towards Seraphine. You made one mistake. Seraphine's voice shook. What mistake? Lucian's silver eyes became ancient again. You believed the human girl was my weakness. His gaze returned to Emily. She is the reason I remembered how to be strong. No one spoke. For centuries, the great hall of Blackwood Castle had witnessed royal decrees, ancient oaths, and decisions that changed the vampire world. Yet now every eye rested on Emily Carter, a 25-year-old gas station clerk still wearing wet sneakers and a faded uniform. Lucian stood beside her, his hand no longer trembling. Beneath Emily's palm, his impossible heartbeat continued. Slow. Steady. Alive. Seraphine stared at him. This changes nothing. Lucian turned. It changes everything. Marcus stepped forward as two royal guards approached Seraphine. They did not touch her. They simply stood on either side, waiting. Lucian's voice remained calm. Lady Seraphine Vale, you poisoned the crown, manipulated the ancient claim, and used this court to expose a human bloodline you had already identified. Cassian looked sharply at her. You knew about Emily. Seraphine lifted her chin. I knew the bloodline survived. Emily's golden mark pulsed. How? Seraphine looked at her. Your mother. The words struck harder than Emily expected. My mother died when I was 16. And spent 16 years hiding you. Emily forgot the court. Forgot the vampires. Forgot the castle. You knew her? Seraphine said nothing. Lucian stepped forward. Take Lady Seraphine to the eastern chambers. She will remain there until the council uncovers every record she concealed. The guards escorted Seraphine away. As she reached the doors, she looked back at Emily. You still do not know what you are. Emily held her gaze. Neither do you. The doors closed. Silence returned. Cassian opened the ancient book. The law remains. Lucian faced him. Then the law changes. Whispers spread across the hall. You cannot simply rewrite 400 years of tradition, Cassian said. Lucian looked almost bored. I am 612 years old. I have rewritten tradition before breakfast. Emily covered a smile. Marcus failed to hide his. Cassian did not look amused. The houses will demand protection from her power. Emily has threatened no one. Her blood awakened you. Her kindness saved me. Lucian's voice deepened. Do not confuse the two. Then he walked toward the throne. Emily expected him to sit. He did not. Lucian stopped at the first black stone step and turned toward her. Emily Carter. Every vampire in the hall became still. Emily shifted uncomfortably. Yes? Lucian descended the steps. 1, 2, 3. He stopped before her. Then the Vampire King lowered himself to one knee. Emily's breath caught. Marcus bowed his head. Across the hall, hundreds of vampires froze in disbelief. Lucian, Emily whispered. What are you doing? He looked up at her. His face was still pale as winter, his silver eyes still ancient, but the coldness she had first seen beside the highway was gone. You saved my life when you believed I was a stranger. His voice carried through the hall. You protected me when you believed I might be dangerous. You stood beside me when every instinct told you to run. Emily's eyes burned with unexpected tears. Lucian continued. Then you saved something I believed had been silent for centuries. His hand rested over his chest. One heartbeat. Then another. You reminded me that a king can survive for centuries and still forget how to live. Lucian rose. From this moment, Emily Carter stands under the protection of the crown. No house will claim her. No council will study her. She belongs to no one but herself. Emily looked at him. Thank you. Do not thank me. A faint smile touched his face. I believe I still owe you for the car ride. Laughter moved softly through the court. Small. Surprised. Human. Then Emily's palm turned cold. She looked down. The golden mark was changing. Gold faded into silver. Silver darkened until the symbol became black. Cassian dropped the ancient book. Impossible. Lucian reached for Emily's hand. What is it? Cassian stepped backward. Fear crossed his face. That is not the Crimson Covenant. The court fell silent. Lucian looked at the black symbol. A crown surrounded by 7 stars. Then what is it? Cassian whispered the answer. The Queen's Mark. Somewhere deep beneath Blackwood Castle, a bell that had remained silent for 400 years began to ring. Emily stared at Lucian. Lucian stared back. And for the first time that morning, the Vampire King looked genuinely afraid. Emily Carter had stopped beside a dark highway because a stranger needed help. She had asked for nothing. Expected nothing. Yet kindness had opened a door ancient power could not. Sometimes the world is not changed by the strongest hand or the oldest crown. Sometimes it changes because one ordinary person chooses not to walk away.